And by the way, if you Jokic, let's understand the level of frustration. This is a guy that averaged over 35 on better than 65% shooting and 38% from three-point range in the regular season. He's been shooting 15% from three over the last 2 games. He has been a shell of himself. He is not 100%. We know that. So that part of that is killing him. That Jokic can't be Jokic.
The conversation around the Western Conference all season focused almost entirely on Oklahoma City Thunder and the rise of San Antonio Spurs behind Victor Wembanyama, while Denver Nuggets quietly stayed out of the spotlight in the middle of the standings. After major organizational changes, injuries, and roster questions, many people believed Denver's championship window was beginning to close. But late in the season, everything shifted. The Nuggets caught fire with a dominant winning streak, climbed rapidly in the standings, and once again leaned on Nikola Jokić controlling games in the way only he can, while Jamal Murray elevated his level enough to earn major recognition across the league. Then came the moment that changed the entire conversation. With only a few games left in the regular season, Denver made the shocking decision to move on from championship coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth, effectively resetting the franchise leadership only 2 years after winning a title. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, interim coach David Adelman pushed the team into another deep playoff run and proved enough to earn the permanent role. Suddenly, Denver no longer looked like a fading contender. It looked like a franchise trying to evolve around Jokic's prime years before the rest of the league could catch up. When free agency opened, Denver Nuggets immediately made it clear they were willing to reshape the roster around Nikola Jokić and Jamal Murray. The biggest move came when Michael Porter Jr. was traded away, signaling the end of a core group that had delivered the 2023 championship. Porter had been a major scoring weapon during that title run, but concerns about injuries, salary flexibility, and consistency clearly influenced the organization's direction. In return, Denver focused on depth, balance, and financial flexibility by bringing in Cameron Johnson, whose shooting and versatility immediately fit the system, while also adding experienced contributors like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jonas Valanciunas to strengthen the rotation around Jokic. What made the move stand out even more was how quickly everything clicked. Instead of needing months to adjust, Denver opened the season playing some of the most efficient basketball in the league, combining elite offensive production with deeper lineup flexibility than they had in years. The new-look roster gave the Nuggets more spacing, more reliable bench production, and something they had long lacked behind Jokic, a dependable second center capable of stabilizing minutes when the MVP Saturday. Suddenly, what looked like a risky transition started to resemble a franchise aggressively maximizing Jokic's championship window while the rest of the Western Conference focused elsewhere. The roster changes around Denver Nuggets quickly started paying off because the new additions complemented Nikola Jokić in ways the previous roster sometimes struggled to. Cameron Johnson added spacing and movement that opened driving lanes throughout the offense, while Jonas Valanciunas gave Denver a physical interior presence behind Jokic that stabilized the rotation. The return of Bruce Brown brought back defensive toughness and versatility from the championship run, and Tim Hardaway Jr. provided instant scoring punch off the bench. Under coach David Adelman, the team played with confidence, pace, and offensive freedom that made them look even deeper and more dangerous than their title-winning version. Then came the statement game on Christmas Day 2025 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Jokic delivered one of the most dominant performances ever seen on a national stage: 56 points, 15 rebounds, and 15 assists in an overtime victory. The performance felt historic not only statistically, but emotionally, because it reinforced the idea that Denver might once again be the most dangerous team in the league when fully healthy. But only days later, momentum shifted completely when Jokic suffered a hyperextended knee that sidelined him for more than 2 weeks. Injuries quickly piled up around the roster as Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, and Cameron Johnson all missed time as well, suddenly forcing Denver's depth to face its toughest test of the season just as expectations around the team were reaching their highest point. When Nikola Jokic returned from injury for the Denver Nuggets, he immediately looked dominant again, producing elite numbers almost effortlessly even while managing limited minutes. But despite his return, Denver struggled to regain the rhythm and momentum they had built earlier in the season. After the All-Star break, the team began slipping in the standings, falling from the top tier of the Western Conference down toward the middle of the playoff race. Injuries, inconsistency, and growing outside criticism started reshaping the narrative around the team, with many questioning whether Denver had already peaked too early or whether the roster could truly hold up through another deep postseason run. Then everything changed in the final weeks of the regular season. After a difficult March loss to the Memphis Grizzlies left Denver sitting 5th in the conference, the Nuggets suddenly exploded into one of the strongest closing stretches in recent league history. They ripped off 12 straight wins against high-level competition, including multiple victories over the San Antonio Spurs and a dominant statement performance against the league-leading Oklahoma City Thunder. What made the run feel different was not just the wins themselves, but the confidence and control Denver played with. Jokic once again looked like the center of everything, while the roster around him finally started clicking at the right time, transforming the Nuggets from a team people doubted into one that suddenly looked capable of challenging anyone in the playoffs. During that closing stretch, the Denver Nuggets looked nearly unstoppable offensively, stacking wins against playoff-caliber teams and repeatedly putting up massive scoring totals that overwhelmed opponents. They handled teams like the Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, Dallas Mavericks, and Portland Trail Blazers while consistently breaking the 130-point mark. What made the run even more dangerous was that it no longer felt like a one-man operation built entirely around Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray elevated into a true co-star role, posting career-best numbers, earning his first All-Star selection, and proving he could fully control games on his own. By the time the playoffs began, Murray was no longer viewed as simply Jokic's sidekick. He looked like one of the most dangerous guards in the conference. Still, the center of everything remained Jokic, whose production somehow continued reaching historic levels that almost felt routine because of how often he delivered them. Averaging another triple-double across an entire season while leading the league in both rebounds and assists placed him in statistical territory rarely touched in NBA history, alongside names like Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robertson. Passing Robertson on the all-time triple-double list and moving closer to Russell Westbrook only reinforced how unique his era has become. And with another MVP-caliber season placing him in conversations alongside legends such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Michael Jordan, Denver's late-season surge stopped feeling like a hot streak and started looking like the rise of a championship threat nobody wanted to face. What made the Denver Nuggets so dangerous late in the season wasn't just momentum or hot shooting. It was the realization that the roster had evolved into something even harder to defend than their championship version. Nikola Jokic continued putting up historic performances, including another absurd stat line against the Portland Trail Blazers that placed him in statistical company almost nobody in league history has touched. By the time Denver closed the regular season with a 12-game winning streak and climbed from 5th to 3rd in the West, the team no longer looked like a contender trying to rediscover itself. It looked like a fully formed playoff machine peaking at exactly the right moment. The biggest reason for that transformation was the evolution of the Jokic-Jamal Murray partnership. For years, opposing defenses built entire game plans around trapping Jokic and forcing other players to create offense. But that strategy became far less effective once Murray reached a true all-star level consistently. If teams doubled Jokic, Murray punished them as a scorer. If defenses focused too heavily on Murray, Jokic dissected the floor with elite passing and control. Their two-man game became nearly impossible to solve because every adjustment opened a new weakness somewhere else on the court. Add in the versatility of Aaron Gordon, the shooting of Cameron Johnson, and the improved overall depth around the rotation, and Denver suddenly looked built to survive every type of playoff series, whether it turned into a defensive grind, a high-scoring shootout, or a battle of adjustments deep into crunch time. What separates this version of the Denver Nuggets from previous years is how complete the roster suddenly looks around Nikola Jokic. The additions of shooters and veterans created spacing, depth, and lineup flexibility Denver rarely had even during the championship run. Christian Braun developed into a reliable two-way presence, while Tim Hardaway Jr. gave the bench an instant offensive spark that could completely swing momentum in second-unit minutes. The return of Bruce Brown restored proven chemistry next to Jokic, and Jonas Valanciunas solved one of Denver's biggest long-term weaknesses by stabilizing the non-Jokic minutes at center. Instead of relying on one dominant lineup, Denver suddenly had answers across the entire rotation, making them look deeper and more versatile than even the 2023 title team. The experience factor only makes them more dangerous. Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon have already survived multiple deep playoff battles together, and their repeated postseason clashes with the Minnesota Timberwolves turned the matchup into a genuine rivalry built on familiarity, adjustments, and physical play. Meanwhile, coach David Adelman already proved he could manage playoff pressure during Denver's previous postseason run, giving the organization confidence despite his relative inexperience as a head coach. Add in multiple award-caliber seasons across the roster and the emotional edge created by months of being overlooked in the standings, and Denver started carrying itself like a team fueled by both belief and resentment. That's what made their late-season victories over elite teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and San Antonio Spurs feel so important, not just because they won, but because they looked fully capable of beating the very teams everyone else believed controlled the conference. The craziest part about this Denver Nuggets run is that it doesn't even feel like a normal contender story anymore. Over the last few years, they've dealt with almost every challenge that usually tears championship windows apart. Major roster changes, injuries, losing leadership in both the coaching staff and front office, and even extended time without Nikola Jokic himself. Yet somehow, instead of fading, Denver may have rebuilt itself into an even deeper and more balanced team than the one that won the 2023 championship. That's why their late-season wins over elite teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and San Antonio Spurs felt so important. Those weren't lucky regular season games. They looked like direct statements from a team that still believes the road through the West might run through Denver. And at the center of all of it is Jokic continuing to build one of the greatest resumes basketball has ever seen. Another MVP caliber season would place him alongside legends like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain in the exclusive four-time MVP club, while his back-to-back triple-double seasons already place him in rare territory with Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook. At 30 years old, Jokic may genuinely be playing the best basketball of his career, which is terrifying for the rest of the league because the Nuggets no longer look like a team surviving around him. They look like a complete contender fully built to maximize his prime.